They're building another one now at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That should be operational end of next year, I think, or beginning of 2012. That's pretty much the only places you can go along and have a G-run. If you're really important, like, here's the guy who does the reporting, Merton, is it? What's his name? The guy who does the reporting for CBC, the comedian.
Rick Mercer?
Mercer, that's it, I can't remember his name. I said Merton. Okay, Rick Mercer is about the only civilian who's had a run on this because it's so important that we made all these waivers for it, because we knew we were going to get good publicity. So yeah, Rick Mercer has been in the centrifuge, a couple of other important people, but if you're not in the military, then chances are you won't get a run in the military centrifuge. You have to get onto NASTA. But again, it's a good deal. But if you're going to go down to do a G-run, you might as well do it as part of the suborbital science astronaut program, because that includes everything else. It includes a hyperbaric chamber run, and that's part of what I do as well. So I do the high altitude indoctrination tests for the pilots as well in the chamber, crank it up to 25,000 feet, and see how they cope. So they put them on oxygen up to 25,000 feet, then we simulate rapid decompression to 25,000, so they suck all the air out, they take off the oxygen masks, and they have problems they have to solve for 4 minutes. So they're off oxygen for 4 minutes, and that's basically like being drunk. The longer you're off oxygen, the more drunk you are, and so you're asked to draw pictures of a dog or a sheep or a cat. Asked to deduct 7 from 100 and keep on deducting 7, things like this. The last 4 prime ministers of Canada, and of course after 2 or 3 minutes the dog looks like a cat, the cat looks like a house. The numbers are all over the place, and then we put them back at oxygen after 4 minutes. So that's the high altitude indoctrination test. We used to do pressure tests. That's a good one to put on the resume if you can go to do a pressure test in a pressure suit beyond the Armstrong line. The Armstrong line is 63,000 feet. That's when your blood starts to boil away. And if you can do a pressure test, that's a good one to put down there as well. Didn't get to fly one of these things, but it's a cool picture anyway. So then it came to selection. Forgot to mention that in '92 I did put my name through did submit my name for the selection, CSA selection in '92, even though I only had a master's degree. Knew I wasn't going to get very far, but I wanted to have my name on record. So when the next selection came around, which I was hoping was going to be 3 or 4 years and not 16, then they would remember me. So I made a point of that in my application letter was that yes, I was an applicant in '92, and this was the reason I applied. So we had to wait 16 years, and it's not just me. There were a lot of people waiting for a long, long time for an opportunity to apply for the CSA again. There was supposed to have had a selection in 2001, 2002. Then George Bush changed the goalposts with his Mission to Mars theme. So that affected a lot of people. First of all, the Canadian Space Agency didn't have a selection that year. Secondly, Rolf, my friend down in Houston, he's gone through 3 astronaut application processes. First time, he was an interview candidate, and what they do, they usually interview, well, back then in '98, I think, they interviewed in batches of 20. So they have 100 candidates they interview 20 candidates 1 week, a week's rest, followed by another 20, followed by another 20. He was in the last batch. After the 4th batch, they had all the astronauts they wanted, and they said to Rolf, okay, thank you very much for applying, we're not going to interview you, please apply next time. So he waited another few years. He then got through the interview stage again, wasn't selected. This is a guy who spent 10 years in EVA, got a PhD, got a multi-engine license, diving, speaks fluent Russian, being the perfect candidate. Last time, just about the same time as the CSA had to cancel their selection because of what Bush was saying, because of this new vision, and they didn't need as many astronauts, basically. He was selected, finally selected as an astronaut, and then when Bush made this announcement in his State of the Union address, NASA thought, okay, well, we're going to go to Mars. We don't need many people right now. We don't need as many as 20 astronauts, so we're going to cut 10 of them. And he was one of the 10 people who were cut. And then he went round this final time, and it's very political at NASA. He has a lot of good friends. Peggy Whitson is one of his closest friends at NASA, so she can make a case for him, and she did, to the astronaut selection committee, saying, look, you have to select this guy. This is one of the best candidates we have. He's worked in EVA for 10 years. He knows the system inside and out. He goes up to Star City 3 months of the year to do the work for us. Integrates with the Russian cosmonauts. He knows the Sokol system inside and out, the Orlan system inside and out. He speaks fluent Russian, etc., etc., etc. No, they didn't select him. And I spoke to a few astronauts, and not to Peggy Whitson, one of his other friends who's an astronaut down there. He's German with a German name, and he has dual citizenship. And because they selected so few astronauts this time, the reason, didn't make this official obviously, but the reason they thought he wasn't selected was because he doesn't speak with an American accent, still has a bit of a German accent. He has a German name, that didn't count for so much. But they wanted thoroughbred American astronauts, because each mission now is going to be so big, so important. I mean, they're all going to be long duration, 6-month missions on the International Space Stations, that they wanted to be sure, or they wanted to have a thoroughbred American astronaut for each one. So that was the reason he wasn't selected this time. So he's, I phoned him up last year, and listened to him pour his heart out for an hour and a half. I think I said a word for about an hour and a half. The gist of it was that he has bad weeks and he has good weeks, just like me. I have good weeks and bad weeks because you've spent 20, 25, 30 years of your life to this one goal, and to get so close and get so far, as it were, it's tough to take. But anyway, the comparison with the selection, because we had 4 selections going on simultaneously. I haven't got the Japanese information here because they're pretty, they don't distribute their information on the website. They usually publish it in a research article. So NASA, not getting very good press. Every single selection, there have been fewer and fewer and fewer applicants. Okay, back in the first shuttle selection, they had 8,500 applicants. I think that was in 78 selection. Yes, class of 78, 8,500 applicants for those positions. This time around, 3,500. So that means you've got a 0.4 chance of being selected, or 235 people chasing position. ESA, a few more. And there were a few with Canadian passports who had European passports who applied for both, just like there was people who had American passports and Canadian passports who applied to NASA and CSA. I don't know anybody who had all 3 passports. Could be possible, but didn't meet anybody. So ESA, 10 times worse chance. Okay, almost 10 times as many people chasing each position. Canadian Space Agency, though, we've waited the longest. 16 years we've waited. We're just 2 people they're going to select. And one of those people candidates is going to be a pilot, guaranteed. One of those candidates is going to be a medical officer, guaranteed. That was a given. And because of the politics, of the Canadian Space Agency, one of them is guaranteed to be from Quebec. There's no question about that. No question. So really, if you're one of these 5,352 people and you're not from Quebec, the odds are against you. So it was some tough statistics to face. So started off, we had to write an essay about why do you want to be an astronaut. I've written 5 books, and that was the toughest essay I ever had to write. I usually get my wife to proofread some of my stuff, and the first draft I gave to her, she said, "This is absolute garbage, this is the worst you've ever written." And I think I went through at least a dozen drafts on that. It's 1,000 words, and in the 1,000 words you have to encapsulate exactly why you want to be an astronaut. You have to set yourself apart from all the other astronaut candidates. So if you're interested in reading that essay, it's actually the preface to Prepare for Launch. That's how I actually start the book. So it gives you an idea of what the thinking is, how you promote yourself without appearing too arrogant. They selected 79. I think I've got this on the next slide. Yeah. So that was the launch, May 2008. You go home and write your essay and send it off, and then you confirm that you have a medical equivalent to a Cat 3 medical. Then you get the call for preliminary interviews. Obviously, you're hoping they don't screw up, because you may or may not know, Chris Hadfield was cut from the first round when he applied to be an astronaut. I'm not sure if he told you that. I saw that he visited here. But he was cut. If it wasn't for his dad phoning up the Canadian Space Agency and saying, "What the hell are you thinking? This is my son who's one of the best pilots in the world," he wouldn't have got through. So they do make mistakes, so you're just crossing your fingers, hoping they don't make mistakes. You're phoning them up politely, asking, "Did you get my file. Is my file being processed? Yes, thank you, it is. We'll contact you soon. Interviews, just to make it a bit more stressful.